Immediately no.
Well, you get our submissions so we see right here.
Pulled up today with the R5.
Oh, nice.
Giving it to him. I'm about to do the headshot for my guy here. Step right on that, brother.
Sure.
Great. Go work for me? You got a...
Yay, okay, thank you.
I'll let you know when I'm finished.
Custom real or just random?
And hopefully we've developed enough relationship with you to continue being generous and vulnerable with your experience, feedback, suggestions, especially around the impact on you as a leader, impact on your organization, as well as what we can continue doing, start doing, stop doing, or even modify what we're doing. So why don't we go ahead and just open it up. And we're going to be listening. The dream team will mostly be listening and maybe even offering some additional probing questions, just so we make sure we understand. We're going to be taking notes. So yes, how was your experience overall, in addition to what you, and then we'll start getting specific about leadership, agency, and steps. And, yeah.
I had a wonderful experience.
What made a wonderful point?
I really liked you as a facilitator. I love the dream team. Even like the group discussions, so I'm referring back to the survey. So the group discussions I thought were really great, especially also the handouts. I think they were very helpful. I think sometimes you go to these types of trainings and you get a lot of information and it takes time to process it. And for me, I've been able to take some of the documents and templates that I've used and use it with my team. That kind of reiterates and reinforces what we talked about here. The only thing I wish is like if they were here, I felt like the conversation would have with them would have been a lot more in depth. And I think that when something is introduced to you for the first time, just kind of like that opportunity to learn is very authentic, and I wish they would have been able to experience that with me. Yeah. Because I couldn't duplicate it. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I know it's different for them, but it was like I wish they would have got a little bit of Renato and the dream team. Yeah. With the documents. Mm-hmm. So I think that that combination made that my experience really fruitful. Yeah. Thank you. What are you thinking, Eric?
Well, honestly, I was going to ask if you could put the slide back up that identified each month.
Okay.
I was thinking today, projects that I was a part of, stay at home and, all of that. But again, just kind of reflecting this morning, getting ready for today, coming together with like-minded individuals in our community, and we all look the same in some capacities, and we definitely all have a similar passion to just see things better for our community and for the people that we know, that we love, that we support, and being surrounded by a dream team, like really. I've worked individually with Liz for many, many years, and seeing how she evolved to be the leader within our city and even beyond, and for her to offer that to each of us in each of these areas. And that's why I really just wanted to see it on the screen, the planning, the accountability, board development, mission, fiscal responsibility, collaboration, leveraging our networks, all compacted into one academy. This is the kind of stuff that costs thousands and thousands of dollars, you know. So to have access to this is life changing, and not for us just in this room, but for the lives that we work with and that we will hope to impact. It's like really nervous. I stated before when my son was 10 at the time, and he was going out the door with a hoodie on, and I'm like, you can't wear a hoodie outside, and he's like, Mom, it's raining. And I'm like, but I want you to make it back home. Like, you know, like the reality of living in this, and then creating an organization, and you have to be professional. And it's not always personal. It's not always about emotion. It's about fundraising. You know, there's so many elements. And so this has really helped me to see that it is personal, but then it's business, and there's a fine line. But the development of the organization is dependent on the professional side. And so this is what keeps pushing me, this academy. Like I said, it does get real personal. But for it to sustain, for it to grow, it's that professional aspect that this particular academy is helping me to, like, it's my pendulum. Like, okay, Erica, you can too far into emotions again. So that's what I think I appreciate the most.
Like with me, it was divine timing, and it was like a blessing, because I was texting Miss Queen Liz about something else, and then she texted me back like, you need to come to my class. And I was like, oh, okay, you know, I didn't even know nothing about it. I didn't hear anything about it. So I believe in divine timing, just to text her that day, just for her to say, hey, I got something going on, you need to get in. I just felt like it was all where I needed to be, because it is helping me to be around people with professionalism, and knowing that we all do go through little different things out here in the communities, and trying to build up our network. Everybody's still pressing on. Ain't nobody saying the hell with this, I ain't doing, you know, everybody challenging it as we supposed to, and that's that part. But overall, I couldn't have been more appreciative of Miss Melanie. You know, I think, I don't know who assigned me to her or how the assignment was going, but since I've been with Miss Melanie, I've been grateful and real hopeful, and she really took time with me, like, you know, and even when it was, and it was days that I didn't make it, she still, you know, helped me walk through. She never missed none of my check-ins with me. She always gave me my full hour, which is really helpful. And I'm really thankful that y'all assigned coaches like y'all did, and I think that's the bulk of the organization of this cohort, is to have somebody to help you on the sideline when you're not in settings or in our group or whatever. That was really helpful. And then just to see everybody growing in their movement, and can't wait to see people like next year this time, you know. Everybody gonna have different stories and different success stories and different funding, and they're gonna be able to help more people and get the movement going. So I'm really thankful that Miss Liz thought of this to do, because I don't think nobody else really thought of this move to make this happen, and it's really important for everybody that's up and coming in the nonprofit world. So we appreciate y'all for doing this for us, and I'm forever grateful. Thank you.
Yeah. Well, could you?
I'm officially an author, thanks to Miss Melanie. I was trying to save it for later, but I can't. So I am now officially an author. I have published my first book in 2019. Because it needed some work and stuff, because I sent it to my son that's in custody, and he swear he's an English professor. So he was like, don't say this, and mom, don't say that. So I was like, okay, son, I'm gonna just pull it from distribution. So throughout that time, I was able to work on my second book. And that's why I was gonna tell Mr. Tolliver, I'm gonna be joining you this summer on my third book. That's what I'll be doing. And I think when I told Miss Melanie how I wanted, my books really meant a lot to me. So because I don't want to have to spend every day of my life trying to raise money. So I feel like if I could start creating some things to help some of the money go back in, that would be like, okay, well, I got this $50 for my book sale, so now I gotta find a match and stuff like that. So I think it would be like good for me to start making sure some of the proceeds from the books go back into the organization. I don't care if it's $2, $3 or whatever, you know, so that I can be at least helping the organization when I can. And just being with Miss Melanie this whole time really leveled up my esteem. She believed in me, like she didn't question my book. She just wanted to understand what she was editing, and that's been very good for me because I plan on launching this fall both the books and having a book signing and everything. So I'm grateful that I was matched with Miss Melanie, and she did a lot to help, you know, beyond just this work and building me up, just helping me with that esteem, because sometimes you can get kind of distracted when you're trying to build up something, you know, you can get distracted by the littlest things, like I heard Erica say emotions, and like Terrell said, emotional intelligence is so important in this work, because everything not personal, and sometimes it's just the way we receive things, and I'm learning to just receive things with humbleness, even if it's not coming that way, you know. So I'm forever now, due to the Dream Keeper initiative and the Dream Team, the world gonna be knowing me.
That's
One thing I got out of this, I look at the cameras on. One thing I got out of it is just the curriculum was just, it was incredible. From day one, it just hits you with everything you need to know in a way that just was easy to understand. And then if they say don't apply, let it fly. Well, some stuff didn't apply, but some stuff did apply. So even the first day, they got something called the California Charitable Registry. It's serious. I didn't even heard of it. It's serious. It's a serious thing. You know what I'm saying? Like it's like once you start trying to fill it out, and you start seeing what they ask, and you start seeing like it's really like the Justice Department. Like it's like. So we completed ours. It took a while. We had to go back 3 years with stuff, and we made it a priority because of that first day and that list of things we need to do. And it's funny because as soon as we got our acceptance, some of the grants they require you to actually. Some of them don't, but some of them do. So we got that, and it was encouraged, you know, just through this process, the urgency of getting that going. But another thing I like about this group was just how personal each of the coaches and the team got with me, and it seemed like with everybody. You know, it's like Terrell when he had asked about my nephews, and he was like an open invitation. Like every time in every class, he'll catch me and just ask some good questions, and he'll kind of talk about his experience. That actually meant a lot to me because it's a whole scary thing. That meant a lot to me, and he always also opened a personal door to say, look, we could go even deeper if you want to. That meant a lot, you know what I'm saying? And then with you, you know, with the whole financing stuff, you know, so many little things. Like even if I don't pay myself, that's a problem. You know, so many different things. So when we had a chance to talk, you just really went deep. You kept it real. And so as an organization, I took it to our board. It's like, look, we gotta really just get this thing tight. So we made it a huge priority. And so we actually raised $25,000 to get an auditor. So we're gonna get an auditor that's gonna go through our whole last year and give us. I guess you got to get an audit thing, whatever they certify you. That's because of here. Because after this conversation, I was like, what are we doing? Like we got to get serious. Like we got to get our books in order. And then Mel, we got a grant to help people write grants, and she referred us to a whole bunch, like fast. Like the thing about grant writers, a lot of people, they don't share that type of stuff. You know what I'm saying? They do not. Like, and I told her about it, and she was like, "Oh, I got." She sent me an email with, it's endless. And so we actually worked with one of the people, and she actually got one of the, and I'm not gonna say who it is, but she actually got one of the people in one of the organizations, grassroots organization in the city, $75,000 grant. You know, so I just like the personal. And it just seemed like y'all really care. So that's what I really like. Just y'all got real personal with us as an individual, and was able to kind of, I was able to grow in certain areas that if I wasn't part of this group, I would have grown, but it might have been like 2 or 3 layers down the line, or after I'm in jail pondering. I didn't do it wrong. I just didn't pay myself. You know what I'm saying? So yeah.
This might be defined as, and I think that we came up with trauma-informed capacity building. And the reason why I think that is so important is because a lot of the barriers, I think, are also attached to like a lack of cultural translation, right? So like I think culturally, I would say this: Black people help people. Like we help each other. Cultural, like people of color help each other. Poor people help each other, right? So when we go into community work, we don't always realize that we're supposed to be compensated, and then we also see that as like, not only are we supposed to be compensated, but I mean, that's not even including like adequately compensated, right? Because that is perceived by us as like, no, that's not what you're supposed to do. You're supposed to like, we're supposed to be nuns and we're supposed to take a vow of poverty. And like, we're not supposed to compensate ourselves. And we're always constantly worried and criticizing ourselves about like, you know, how are other people gonna see us? And then so we never think of the idea of what is sustainability. And so the reason why I think it's so important to name this like trauma-informed capacity building, because if you don't know that about people of color, you don't know how real that is. Yep. So you don't know to like tell Majid, hey Majid, you're an executive director. Look on Google, just Google it, right? Just Google it. How much is an executive director in San Francisco make? Now, how close are you to that? Right? So Majid's like, whoa, I'm only paying myself this much, right? It's like, whoa, so the standard is this, but it's like a lot of us do not realize how much we short ourselves because we view it as like this is a sacrifice that you're supposed to make and versus a profession, which is why we have this emotional attachment, right? You're not just criticizing the work that I'm doing, you're criticizing me as a person. And so it's like important for us to understand like this is an actual industry. But also, what does that look like? Because there's a lot of things, like even what is capacity building? What's capacity building for somebody over here may not be capacity building for me. So it's those things like telling Majid, like Majid, you should really probably make like $150,000 a year. And Majid is gonna be like, hold on, I don't know about that. That's not real, or that's not right. That's not righteous. You know what I'm saying? But really, Majid, what we don't also realize is like we are the models. We are modeling the behavior that we are trying to promote in the community, and because people do not necessarily understand like this, if we don't create the space, right? If we don't create the systems, and so let's say Majid wants to retire, legit, who's gonna take the job that you left for $40,000 a year?
Yeah.
So if you don't understand the impact or the importance of infrastructure in your systems, where is the succession?
Yeah.
There is no succession. So without succession, where is the sustainability?
Yeah.
There is no sustainability, right? So if we understand the different ways to implement the infrastructure, and we get that information in a way that is translated to us where we understand so we can apply it,
Yeah.
this is to me how you create real impact. And that's why I think the idea of trauma-informed capacity building is what this Leadership Academy was able to provide for so many of us, because we could talk about a lot of things, but can you talk about it from my lens?
Yeah. Yeah.
And how do I apply that?
Yeah, and I think one of the other things we're also developing, so we named it, let's remove some of those barriers. But we're still hurt. So how are we healing from some of that stuff? Because you can still say, yeah, now I know that I should be making 150K, but I'm not doing it. Why? Well, you got to heal from that because that's not your identity. And that's just an example. Sometimes it's not even about that. But unless you have taken a vow to poverty, and you do want to become nuns and monks, but I didn't see that in any of y'all's applications when we were interviewing you, right? So anyway, just wanted to kind of lift that up as a part of the process too, right? So yeah, thank you for that.
To stop doing, I had a lot to continue doing and building this program out even bigger. I felt like going through this program monthly, I was excited to come because I knew I was learning something. I also knew that this was a healing space as we came in. First of all, you guys checked on us so that we're okay in the community that we work in and with. As I said, it has a lot of trauma, and then we went into our day to work through the structure of our organizations and what we needed to be put in place. The thing that stood out to me the most is when I left here, I always felt like I needed more. Mm-hmm. I felt like I needed to be here bi-weekly. Like I didn't have enough time, right? Like there was more that I needed to know because they have these jewels and these nuggets that I needed to take home with me to develop myself and the people around me even more. So if I had to say anything, I wouldn't want to just meet monthly. I'd want to meet bi-weekly. So that when these real situations are happening in organizations, because what happens is we get swamped, right? There's so much going on. You forget some of those little details through that month until we get back here, right? It's like that one major thing. But if we were here bi-weekly, some of those things, like if even in the grant world we put in like, oh man, I put that in and I didn't get it. But Mel may have known what that exact wording was of why we didn't get that grant or what we needed to do. You may have known the strategic plan that we needed to put in place ahead of time to be even prepared for that grant, right? So that was my takeaway from this program. Like anybody who will listen to me, I'm like, you need to go through the leadership program and make sure you go, right? You have to go so that you actually understand what you are learning. Because when we first started, right, it was like, oh, okay, this is going to be a class. I don't know. Like any other class, if you go through coaching sessions, it's like they talk at you, not with you. You guys talk with us and through it. So the first day I didn't know. But by the time we got into that second session, oh, it got real. And I was like, yeah, I want to be here every time. That's why I'm always here. I am excited to get here. I'm thrilled to know what y'all are going to teach me, because not only am I going to use it in the organization that originally put me here, I'm able to go out and introduce this structure to other orgs too. Let me show you what we're using. Let me show you how you use this. Oh, you didn't think about that governance and matrix? Let me share that with you too. Oh, the budget template was excellent. Our entrepreneurs have been working with that in our program, right? And how that looks and thinking through that, because you don't really think through your budget that way. The way you guys simplified it and actually made us think through what you really needed, amazing. Thank you.
Yeah.
All of you guys, thank you. I'm thrilled. And I can't wait to hear about how big this actually turns out to be, because I know it is.
Yeah. No, and I guess what I appreciate hearing from you just shared is that you also shared, right?
Yes.
So it wasn't just how do you apply, it was history. So you talked about legacy, right? So it's like, how do we understand that the legacy this is an origin story for this program, but there's a legacy of stuff that even Jenny talked about in terms of Jenny and Liz's conversation prior to the Leadership Academy that they put into success centers, right? So there's that kind of stuff that continues.
And the binder and original I can think about that you guys put together of everywhere to contact to make sure all of our paperwork is ordered for 501c3. That's big. Normally you gotta research that. We Googling and we looking everywhere. And you call, all that was in one place.
Yeah.
I just have a suggestion for the next, because I don't feel like we should have to be like, this should be over for us. I feel like maybe the next class for us would be like coaching us on how to facilitate these types of things with our teams specifically. So I'm just throwing that out there in the universe.
Yep.
That if there's a master class, that in the master class, like we learn how to do this with our teams, with you guys though, like not by myself, but I mean like, you know, like you guys help us to where we can take this and do it with our teams and we facilitate those things.
Well, it may even be, just kind of build on that, you all come into some of the sessions of the next cohort, right? So if, when you see this menu, it's like, oh, this is what I still need to learn. Well, then you come in and co-present that piece. I think the best way to learn is to try to teach it. Mm-hmm. So if the financial stuff is what you really want to learn deeply, kind of know that you and Adrian Trujillo need to come together and plan what that looks like for that. Fund development, you know, hey, I still need to learn this about fund development. How do you get with Mel to be able to say, let's present this to the next cohort? So again, that's just to kind of land it as a possibility. We're always looking about, you know, we've had guests come in throughout. And we're having guests come in today. Why aren't you our guests? Our guest facilitators, trainers, educators, on and on, right? I'd love to hear from Kwanzaa and Derek as well.
She had a question before me.
Oh, I just wanted to make a recommendation like on affinity groups. I wasn't really successful in that area, not because Erica or Majig didn't want to meet with me. You see Majig is building a movement, he's the executive director.
Yeah.
I just would like to say for next time, because that is important to work amongst your peers, learn from each other. Maybe it could be carved out in an hour or something before the end of the day, because it was really, really hard to connect. And if not every month, every other month, y'all leave like an hour or something for the teams to get together, because I know building a relationships with other organizations is important. I mean, I'm not an amateur, you know, I pretty well know how to connect with everybody, but I just feel like some people, it'd be helpful, like, because Erica and Majid are both resourceful, so I just think when we're doing this, and we, you know, for the new people that's coming in, or new people that's starting business, they might not know Erica and Majid and Gwen, is, you know, that might be a little intimidating to somebody that don't know their people they're with. So in order to build that relationship and that confidence, I think we should carve out a little bit more time for people can build relationships.
My question is, do you guys, or have you thought about it, have anything in place? Or is it even important to you to keep in contact with the progress of this first cohort, meaning every individual organization? And the reason why I say that, because we know when it comes to capacity building that everybody processes at a different pace. So we definitely can't compare that to everybody. So, you know, you have some people who are advanced, they're going to take off faster than others. And you got your mediocre, and you got, you know, after that. So I was just wondering, do you guys have that in place or thought about that? Like, hey, you know, let's reach out to our first group of people and see where they at. You know, have you got a grant yet? Just hypothetically, you know, have you got your board developed? Hypothetically, you know, and I think that would be definitely living proof to know that, you know what we taught is working, because we actually keeping up with the pace of that group of people. You know, and that's priceless, because what happens is, a lot of times when we are learning and we get not bombarded, but we're intaking so much information, that's all theory. Now you need a whole new team actually to help you execute that theory. And so we don't have that process coming in place. I'm not saying it's supposed to be. Don't get me wrong, I wouldn't trade this class for nothing. but I understand the
Yeah.
fact that I got all this good theory
Yeah.
and I got all this good resources, and, you know, and I understand that. And so that's one phase.
Yeah.
Now, when it comes to actually executing a day-to-day operation hypothetically,
Yeah.
that's another team.
Yeah.
You follow me?
Yeah, no, part of what I'm getting is that folks learn in different ways, and I think even Queen Vanessa said you're all in different parts of the movement journey, if you will. Because what I also heard from folks is that some folks are experiencing it as theory. What I also heard is that some folks were actually applying it in the course of it. So some people got money. Some people got a budget. Some people are actually teaching this stuff in other spaces and places, right? So how are we, and I'm including you all in this right? Because if we say we want to go ahead and meet again, will you show up? Right? Right? Because to what extent is the evidence of your attendance? We don't have the attendances, but they range from 100% to I think we had a 60%. Is that the lowest?
Some lower than that, but
Yeah.
collectively as a group going into today, it was at 71% overall.
Yeah, 71% attendance, right? So again, not naming it as judgment, just naming it as data. What are we making meaning of that? Because for some, does that mean this is too much? I would have liked to have thought that 80 or 85% would signify to funders that this is a worthwhile program. But if funders see that you have 70% showing up, maybe it's not valuable or worthy, so why would they add more to it? Who knows how folks interpret stuff, right? So again, part of it is, yes, we want to be able to continue a relationship with all, so we want to take those suggestions and say, let's do this. And as we know, it takes capacity to do something going forward. Energy. So when we put the finances, the people, time, and the energy into it, is it okay that 70% show up? We say, yeah, we're doing it. And we're hoping, though, we're making tweaks so that next cohort is more like 80 or 85%. I don't know, we're just we're guessing. We're sort of making this stuff as we go along, right? And for us, when I was running a leadership program before, if folks didn't maintain a certain degree of attendance, we actually asked them to leave the program in our data. Because it's not authentic. And that's not, again, hopefully it's not coming off as judgment, it's just, this is a description of what we're striving for in a system that's sort of funky, right? It's just a funky system, nonprofit industrial complex that went on this part. Yeah.
So I want to add, well, piggybacking off of that real quick before I forget, is that, again, this initiative is 2 years, it's ongoing, right? So everything is still being evaluated during this process, right? So what Renato was saying, again, why would we do more if we haven't exhibited that you need or there's requirements of more, right? So in answer to your question, Kwanzaa, Liz, Kalina, and I are working to revamp not only the leadership, but the Dreamkeeper component of our infrastructure of our organization and our website. So we are going to want to keep in touch with you all, which we will, but highlight what you're doing from here on out in the community. So you get a large grant, you're speaking somewhere, you become a board chair somewhere, all of those things, we want to highlight those in our Dreamkeeper leadership portion of our website and continue to stay connected to you and follow this process along. So it's important that we all stay connected, but you share those highlights with us as well. So
because we will, when you make it to the New York Times bestseller list, we're going to claim that.
right.
Right. We're going to claim it, right? And so and at the same time, whatever challenges you're facing, we're going to claim that too, right? So we're not saying thank you for showing us off. We're going to say we're with you as you're hitting those barriers that you will hit going forward. So that's again, we're already talking about how we're doing that even beyond just this program, right? I think people are going to have relationships, and Queen Vanessa was talking about, you're going to have relationships anyway, whether it's officially because of Dreamkeeper, Leadership Academy, or whatever, right? There's going to be those ongoing things, and that's just who we are. And so we'll play around with that, but we do want to figure out a way, to the extent that it can benefit us and not burden us, how do we capture that in writing? How can we tell that story? That's why these things, Kalina's taking notes, we're kind of got some videotape on it. We're gonna want to incorporate that in our narrative about what the impact this has on your leadership, your agency, your communities, on each other, right? Derek, you want to add anything before I kind of move us towards, I'm not sure what I'm moving us towards.
You know, I think you know, we were having our call in and I kept having to postpone it. Then I forgot to put it down, or, you know, those things were, you know, happening for me in that space and time. And I remember talking to Renato and telling him, Renato, I mean, I think this is a program that's so very valuable, and that my schedule is such that I'm not doing the program justice, you know, by me not being able to attend or not being able to make it, you know, and I think it'd probably be better if I leave the program and, you know, somebody who deserves to be here and has the time and the commitment is in my, you know, is there to support me. And he said, okay, Derek, you know, he listened, and he, you know, I thought about how he listened, and the, not just empathy and compassion, but realistic business. You know, he understood what I was saying, you know, and he made no apologies for what I said, because it was what it was. You know, it was just timing wise really hard for me to see myself attending the affinity group, the coaching sessions, and the one-day commitment. And Renato said, Derek, give it some thought, and we'll revisit this. And if you decide, you know, he said, I'm gonna support you no matter what. You know, if you decide that this is not for you right now. And it was like the next session, the next time we got together, and I mean, within days, I said, Renato, I'm gonna do this. You know, and it changed my life because I realized I needed to make some decisions about what was really important. And I could have been missing out on what I've gained I would never have had I quit after that first week, you know, the first session. And I was I had already made up in my mind I was not going to be doing it. So that part of this program, which may not get spoken to, is important. In other words, having somebody who understands what you're going through enough to give you the freedom to make your own choice, but at the same time knowing that they presented the evidence for the value of the program, and it was up to you to figure out whether you wanted to receive it. And I'm like, man, you know, because he could have just said, hey, we'll see you. You know, this is really not for you. He didn't say that. He said, I respect your decision, but give it some thought. And if you decide you don't want to do this, you know, we're going to still support you. And I'm telling you, that made a lot of difference to me. The other part, when I had to, you know, take so I made every session except the one when I was in East Africa, you know, with the family. But I want to say this about that trip. I was on probation with my family. I think I've said that. I think some of you thought I was BSing. No, they really didn't know whether they wanted me to come, right? Because I'm in a family with 3 daughters and a wife, right? And historically, it's 4 against 1. Okay, historically, right? So, and then I'm not always the most diplomatic person on earth. But with this course, what it taught me is that leadership is where you find it. It might be sitting right in front of you with your own family. And guess what? If you show appreciation and you respect their leadership abilities, things can happen in a positive way. And that's what happened. My daughters took charge of having this whole thing planned out, the trip, the itinerary, everything. And I had my own set of resources in East Africa, and my wife had her own set of resources in East Africa. Hers was in Kenya, mine was in Tanzania. And the trip was Tanzania, Kenya, Zanzibar, right? With safaris and all the other things that we did, as well as visiting, you know, the big cities and the small villages and everything else in between. And guess what? I used what I learned here, budgeting, all that other stuff. Hey, I checked out the budget, right? Because they had it all scheduled out. And I said, she got her stuff together, right? I'm talking about my oldest daughter, Alana. She was the one that spearheaded, but she had the cooperation of my second oldest daughter. And so I'm looking at that in context of what I learned about organization and leadership with us. And I realized when they got weak, right? Because we had a time where it was a meltdown, right? And I interacted with more compassion than I normally do. Way more compassion. And guess what? It served the whole family well, because we didn't need two fools in the room at the same time. And I'm usually the bigger fool, okay? But what I realized is she wasn't foolish. She was going through reality. She had planned and put this thing and put all us on her back. When you're sitting at customs or visa or a check for health, because now, you know, COVID, and you're in line and you have to have so many documents in place and then so many of them online, because they didn't want to see what you had as a document. They wanted to see if this was actually registered online. That's what we deal with some of this documentation that we have. You know, it's like Tamara was saying, the checklist. You have one thing out of place and you may take yourself out of the running. What Melody has taught us, what Adrian has taught us, what Liz has taught us, what Renato has facilitated and taught us. Those are all key things that we got to keep in mind. And again, going through that on that trip to East Africa made me understand that this is not just about nonprofits and running, being a leader. Can you respect the leadership that exists within your own family in order to set back your ego and appreciate the fact that, guess what, if you're running an organization, there's leaders in your own organization that may have more capacity and more upside than you have right now. What are you doing to nurture that and respect it?
Yeah.
And so that's what I learned.
Yeah, awesome, thanks. And I want to underscore that, and hopefully it's reflected in what you put in the evaluation, and just saying, hey, this is the leader of this organization, that's the only way we're going to interact and engage with you. We were interacting with you because of your position in the community, in your family, in our world, and all that. So that's why it was important to be able to say what's going on with family, what's going on at home, what's going on in the community, what's going on in life, what's going on in your journey of your career, what's going on in your organizational lifespan, right? As new as it might be, or mature, and all of these things. So all that stuff that you might be thinking as extra, it's actually part of our design. It's part of our design to see you as whole people who, again, back to what was mentioned earlier, who have been experiencing this world of white supremacy, patriarchy, capitalism, and on and on and on. Systems of oppression. So we're not ignoring that, but we're not going to be limited by it. Right? We're going to remind us of your, I'm trying to remember who you said it, Queen Vanessa. We're going to remind you of your divinity. So what does it mean, right, to be giving you and receiving from you feedback that does that? So that's where we're going to go. So that's what this is about, and that's what we hope to do. So I'm going to do probably not a smooth transition because I see lunch and I hear my stomach. But part of what I want to offer is this. One is we do have a graduation that's coming up. And maybe we could talk about the graduation a little bit after the panel. But one of the things that we are will do is we're going to create a gallery. Right, and so this is a picture of just some. So I did I used to teach I think I shared with you. I played professor, and if you know academic conferences, there's often these things. Not only are there workshop sessions, but they also have what's called poster sessions, where people have like poster boards of their research. So we want to be able to work with you to create a gallery for folks who go to the ceremony in June to be able to ask you questions about your work. So we'll help you put something like this together. And it will include things like an updated magazine cover that we gave you back in September, October, with the new pictures that have been taken today, if that's what you want to use. But if there's something more in action you want, we can do whatever. But we'll work with you to kind of update that. But again, the magazine covers are as if you were given that Leadership of the Year award 3 to 4 years out, right? So we just want to be able to do that, as to let people know that this is a visionary program, not just in the moment. We're talking about how are we supporting you to realize your vision now, even as you become leaders going forward, right? So we want to be able to do that. So I just want to name that these pictures will be available. We may need you to take a look at the magazine covers that we already gave you. If there's some comments you want to work on that or reflect on that, so we can have that updated and make it available to print out and share at the at the ceremony. I think that's all we want to say for now. Is that right, Terrell? Yeah.
Other than if you have some time to finish the final evaluation, you have a chance to finish it. Please try to get as much done as you can. Well, actually, please try to finish it during lunch. I think if you go back to it and go out of it, you won't say your answer.